and Eddie and Nicole, and it was like we had quite a few of us. We Ray Leonard and all of us, we would all go out to dinner. And
you fly in that room, huh?
Man, we used to just, oh my God, that was like the good old days.
For decades, Hollywood has whispered about Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill, a bond wrapped in velvet laughter and red carpet glamour, yet shadowed by a story too persistent to vanish. We see them side by side at premieres, cracking each other up in private circles, projecting a brotherhood beyond scrutiny. But beneath that shine, the same old rumor beats like a drum that their connection is something far deeper, more guarded, and perhaps the biggest open secret in the industry. Every denial only seems to add fuel, and every resurfacing whisper shakes loose another thread in Eddie's carefully spun image as family man, comeback king, and untouchable legend. The timing is never random. These stories have a way of circling back just when the spotlight burns brightest.
It doesn't feel good.
What do you think about the rumors about you and Eddie Murphy having a relationship? What does Eddie say about it?
They said it about Oprah and Gill. They said it about Will and Dwayne Martin. So I guess we fit in the group of, because we've always been tight. Eddie could care less about it, and Eddie's always been Eddie. And if anybody that knows Eddie, Eddie lives Eddie's life, and he'll look at you straight up and tell you.
Johnny Gill's fiery responses have only made the speculation louder. We've seen him clap back with raw defiance, promising lawsuits and threatening to make an example out of anyone daring to say they saw what they claim to have seen. He has denied it in no uncertain terms, calling the rumors bold-faced lies, but still, here we are. When an alleged insider swears he saw Eddie and Johnny kissing at a Hollywood Hills party, detailing it with unnerving precision, the effect is like pouring gasoline on a fire that never really went out. Eddie, meanwhile, keeps his silence, letting the storm swirl around him while his public image stays focused on children, careers, and wholesome interviews. And yet, in the background, the tension is undeniable. How many times can the same story return before people start asking if there's smoke because there's fire?
But was he as romantic as the person he played in Boomerang? That's what I'm trying. You know what?
Yes.
You know, in real life, is he like? That's how I picture Eddie. Don't blow it for me. No.
Enter Nicole Murphy, the permanent satellite in Eddie's orbit, a figure who brings her own gravitational pull of scandal. She's not just Eddie's ex-wife and the mother of 5 of his children. She is, whether she likes it or not, a mirror reflecting back on him every time her name makes headlines. Nicole has a track record that keeps tabloids hungry. Lisa Ray McCoy calling her out for allegedly sleeping with her then-husband, former Turks and Caicos Prime Minister Michael Misick. The story had teeth. Lisa Ray even claimed she caught Nicole dropping him off at a private airport, a tape she said she sent to Nicole's then-boyfriend, Michael Strahan. Lisa Ray's words sting to this day. For me, it was like, wow, I'm a whoop your ass. Friends don't do that. Nicole denied it, of course, but when Misick himself admitted to cheating, the damage was already permanent. That feud cemented Nicole as the kind of woman who could crack friendships, marriages, and reputations without hesitation.
Yourself. Yes. Yourself, being by yourself at 50 right now.
Yeah.
Does it feel good?
It actually does. Right now, I'm just focused on all my businesses that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm in a good space. Yeah, I'm in a good space. I'm about to be an empty nester soon, like in 2 years.
And then there was Airport Gate with Antoine Fuqua, the director married to actress Layla Roshan. Those images of Nicole and Fuqua kissing poolside in Italy didn't just go viral, they detonated. Nicole eventually called it a mistake on the Wendy Williams show, wishing it hadn't happened, insisting it was a lapse in judgment. But to Eddie, insiders whispered it was more than a mistake. Reports surfaced that he told Nicole her choices embarrassed their family, embarrassed their 5 children, and reflected back on him, whether they were together or not. Eddie, ever cautious about his legacy, allegedly urged her to apologize again publicly. And she did. But the reality is clear. Every scandal Nicole stirs becomes Eddie's by association. And that loop has kept both of them tied together long after their marriage dissolved.
So it's a great time to be hustling your own stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Plus keeping yourself together.
But it's not even that. It's you know what? I got daughters. I have a son.
Yeah.
But it's really about being a strong Black woman. Having your stuff together, taking care of yourself, having your own money. And I want them to see that, you know, we can do this.
This is why the whispers about a so-called 3-ring NDA strike such a nerve. Industry gossip has long suggested that Eddie, Johnny, and Nicole might have forged a silent pact, a survival arrangement to guard each other's secrets at all costs. The theory goes like this. Whenever Nicole's name bursts into scandal, Eddie suddenly surfaces in the press with glowing headlines about being a devoted father, or Johnny stays curiously untouched by the storm. Conversely, when eddies pass, whether it's the infamous late-night police stop with a transgender companion or old comments that aged poorly, starts trending again, Nicole or Johnny conveniently absorb their own share of headlines. It looks like a rotation, a chess game of distraction where the pieces move just in time to keep the other safe. We can't say if it's true, but it's the kind of eerie convenience that makes Hollywood insiders lean in and whisper late at night.
Our first guest was once married to Eddie Murphy for 13 years, and she starred on the hit reality show Hollywood Exes. You remember that? Well, now she's got a new fitness app and a jewelry line. Please welcome back to our show, Nicole Murphy.
We've seen how Nicole clings to the Murphy name, defending it like armor, declaring in interviews that she earned it through 12 years of marriage and 5 children. She said plainly that only remarriage would make her drop it, and until then, it stays. Cynics call it brand protection, but whatever the motive, it's another thread in this web of loyalty and image control. Eddie, remarried now, still finds his family narrative looping back to Nicole every time she's spotted stepping out with a new name. And the latest? Footage of her in Miami with Marcus Jordan, the son of basketball legend Michael Jordan. They danced together at Club 11 during DJ Khaled's golf tournament, sparking headlines that eclipsed everything else Eddie and Johnny might have been facing. Was it coincidence? Or was it yet another perfectly timed diversion? This is where the Marcus diversion rumor enters the picture. The idea that Nicole's sudden Miami night out wasn't about romance at all, but about drawing cameras and captions away from the heat Eddie and Johnny were feeling as the whispers reignited. Because the gossip cycle works like clockwork, one juicy image can drown out another story entirely. Nicole knows how to work a spotlight, whether intentionally or not, and Eddie benefits every time. So we're left to wonder, are these scandals really random, messy accidents? Or are they a carefully choreographed dance where each stumble, each kiss, each feud is just another step in keeping the real story buried in shadows?
And let me make sure we're clear on something. Whether it's being called, accused of being a thief, accused of being anything, or somebody's lying on you and saying something about you that is not true, it just doesn't feel good.
Johnny Gill's latest eruption was nothing short of volcanic. When an escort known only as Flash claimed he saw Johnny and Eddie kissing at a Hollywood Hills party, Johnny didn't just brush it off, he detonated. His tirade on social media dripped with expletives, threats of legal warfare, and a promise to drag the accuser into court until there was nothing left. He raged, "I'm not the entertainer that's taking the road of be quiet and ignore it because it's a lie. Now, I'm gonna make an example." For some, that was the final word, a man defending his reputation with all the heat of a flamethrower. But for others, the fury itself was suspicious. Why respond with such venom if the claim had no power? Was this righteous anger? Or the kind of overreaction that makes whispers sound like confessions? And this is the dangerous loop Johnny keeps finding himself in. For more than 30 years, the rumor has circled back like a boomerang, and every denial only makes it land harder. The more graphic the allegation, the more explosive Johnny's response, and the more fascinated the public becomes. Eddie, by contrast, remains silent, hiding behind smiles and family photos, while Johnny plays the frontline soldier. To many observers, it feels like a good cop, bad cop routine. Eddie preserves the polished glow while Johnny absorbs the heat, barking loud enough to keep everyone at bay. But we have to ask, is Johnny protecting himself, or is he protecting Eddie too?
You look so beautiful tonight. What did Eddie say when you came down the stairs ready for the evening?
He loved it, yeah.
Being the great romantic man that he is, what did he say?
He's very romantic.
Or do you need to say it now?
No, he already did it.
I told her how wonderful she looked.
He actually says that kind of stuff all the time. So.
Really?
Yeah, he's very, very sweet and romantic.
What makes the cycle even stranger is how perfectly Eddie's public persona has evolved in tandem with these storms. Whenever Nicole is caught kissing someone she shouldn't, whenever Johnny's name is dragged into speculation, suddenly Eddie appears on magazine covers or late-night shows talking about his 10 children, his grandchildren, his low-key family dinners. The headlines pivot from scandal to wholesomeness in the blink of an eye. A timeline autopsy lays it out starkly. Nicole's Fuqua kiss in Italy was followed almost immediately by Eddie parading his children at holiday gatherings. Johnny's most recent rant coincided with Eddie sharing anecdotes about watching Family Feud every evening with his wife and kids. Again and again, it looks less like coincidence and more like choreography.
And the funny thing about it, and the great thing about it is, for him, this is just, he knows what he's done. He knows what his contribution that he's made, and it doesn't need or look for any confirmation for what he's been able to do. He knows and feels that his work, what he's been able to accomplish, has only come from him staying focused, and he knows that it's going to be here forever.
This is how modern PR in Hollywood works. It isn't about cleaning up messes, it's about distraction warfare. The strategy is simple. When a scandal threatens to pierce the armor, drown it out with images of joy, tradition, and relatability. Eddie may not comment on rumors, but his team makes sure the world sees him as a devoted father of 10, a man who calls his kids his greatest blessing, a man who is even proud to be called Papa by his grandchild. Stack these cycles side by side, and the pattern is impossible to ignore. For every whisper of shadows, a floodlight of family warmth follows. If this is coincidence, it's one that has repeated for decades with surgical precision.
So I got to figure out where to find the key that they're singing in. And it's like, it's a good training because it teaches you at the end of the day, you know, you got to just be in tune with what's going on there. So,
and then there is Paige Butcher, the woman Eddie finally married after years of long-term relationships and public heartbreaks. On the surface, she's the soft-spoken Australian model who gave Eddie his youngest 2 children and convinced him to embrace stability. But in the whispers of Hollywood insiders, Paige is something else entirely. She is the gatekeeper, the fortress wall. The reason Eddie finally agreed to marriage again was not just love, but a prenup so ironclad it could double as a vault door. After a $15 million divorce payout to Nicole, Eddie was never going to risk his empire again. Paige reportedly made sure of it. Insiders describe Paige as the one calling the shots, ensuring Eddie spends time with family, shielding him from chaotic influences, and filtering who gets past the front door of his mansion. Friends joke that Eddie has become a yes man to his wife, happily letting her rule the household because it gives him peace. But for those who look closer, the subtext is louder. Paige's presence is the final barrier keeping Eddie's past from creeping back. No Nicole drama, no Johnny speculation, no ghosts from old scandals. Paige is the checkpoint that decides what gets in and what stays out. Love may be part of it, but the control looks too strategic to be accidental.
Humor Mill, I have Johnny Gill right here. Tell us, what does it mean to be here at the 30th commemoration of Eddie Murphy's career?
When you look at what Eddie's accomplished, and we look around all these years and we've seen so many people that have come and that have gone that are no longer here, this is a major, major blessing. And I'm glad it's about time, is way overdue, to give him and to acknowledge what he's been able to accomplish.
And yet, long before Paige ever entered the picture, there was another figure tied to Eddie in ways that have grown more haunting with time: Whitney Houston. The two were linked romantically in the late 80s, a pairing that once looked like Hollywood royalty in the making. But the most chilling detail came years later, when it was revealed that on the very morning Whitney was set to marry Bobby Brown, Eddie allegedly picked up the phone and told her she was making a mistake. To the public, it sounded like a desperate gesture of a man in love. But to those who study Eddie's timeline of distractions, that call looks less like romance and more like a tactical diversion, dropping his name into headlines at the exact moment whispers about his private life were starting to churn. What if Whitney was never just a chapter in his dating history, but a pawn in the larger game of redirection? At the height of her fame, Whitney was America's golden voice, untouchable in her stardom. Having her associated with Eddie created the perfect narrative shield. If he was the object of Whitney's affection, how could the rumors about him possibly hold weight? It gave Eddie cover, a way to wrap himself in the glow of her reputation, while speculation tried to gnaw at his own. And the fact that the wedding day phone call leaked later only kept the association alive, continuing to paint Eddie as a man Whitney once longed for, even while her life spiraled elsewhere.
You know what? When we first met, we were at the NAACP Black Image Awards after party, and I was standing in line getting some food. And he sent this dude at the time, they called him Fruity. That was his nickname. Whoa. And you know who gave him that name was Eddie. Yeah. So Fruity comes up and he's like, we got Mr. Murphy that wants to meet you. And I was like...
This reframing forces us to look back at that era with fresh suspicion. Eddie was riding the success of Coming to America, Whitney was about to embark on a controversial marriage to Bobby Brown, and the tabloids were desperate for any juicy crossover. By inserting himself into her story, even for a brief moment, Eddie shifted the narrative. Suddenly, the conversation was not about whispers in Hollywood clubs. It was about Whitney's divided heart. The most powerful singer in the world, torn between Bobby and Eddie, was the kind of storyline that could eclipse almost anything, and it did. The question becomes whether Whitney herself ever realized she might have been pulled into Eddie's defensive strategy. Was she a willing participant, still enchanted by him even as she walked down the aisle to another man? Or was she unknowingly used, her affection and vulnerability leveraged to buffer someone else's image? The tragedy of Whitney's later life makes this possibility even more unsettling. For years, she carried the weight of public scrutiny, and yet here she may have been serving as the ultimate decoy in Eddie's long campaign of smoke and mirrors.
I have to ask, Eddie Murphy bailing on the Oscars.
I know.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, it was exciting to know that he was going to do it because I think the Oscars would have been more interesting and more fun to watch.
With him doing it.
Definitely.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We cannot ignore how eerily consistent this would be with the playbook Eddie seems to have used with Nicole and Johnny later. When the pressure mounts, he finds someone bigger, shinier, or messier to take the heat off him. Whitney was not just a singer, she was a cultural force. To tie his name to hers, especially in such a dramatic, heart-stopping moment, was to create a spectacle strong enough to keep his own secrets buried. It was manipulation disguised as romance, a masterstroke in the art of distraction. And perhaps that's the real legacy of the Whitney episode. Proof that Eddie's survival strategy has always been to borrow the spotlight of others, to fold their chaos into his calm, to make their drama the story while he slips away untouched. If Whitney, one of the most beloved figures in music history, could have been caught in that cycle, then the scope of Eddie's game is larger than we ever imagined. It suggests that the machinery protecting him doesn't just involve his wives or his closest friends. It has, at times, pulled entire icons into its orbit. And that is what makes the rumors so impossible to bury. Think about the timing. Eddie stayed single or in short flings for years after his whirlwind romances with Mel B and Tracy Edmonds collapsed in chaos. Then suddenly, with Paige, everything is locked down. He's careful, selective, private. He doesn't even touch social media, leaving no cracks for gossip to slip through. She enforces the bubble while Eddie leans into family life, comforted by the routine of quiet dinners and television nights. The carefree wild child of the 80s is gone. In his place stands a man who knows that one leak, one slip could unleash the rumor he spent his whole life suppressing. Paige is the firewall making sure that leak never happens. But Hollywood has a cruel memory it never forgets. Eddie's empire may look impenetrable today, built on Netflix comebacks, wholesome interviews, and family photo ops, but the same rumor has survived 3 decades, resurfacing with new witnesses, new details, new fury from Johnny every time. Secrets don't stay buried forever in this town. They simmer under the surface, waiting for the moment when the pressure is too much and the cracks split wide open. We've seen empires fall overnight for less, and we've seen how one image, one careless slip can unravel carefully built legacies. So here's the thunderclap question we have to leave hanging in the air. Has Hollywood been sitting on the Eddie and Johnny secret for 30 years, protecting its crown jewel with distraction after distraction, while Nicole and Paige play their roles in the cover? Or are we simply watching the greatest coincidence in entertainment history? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is a debate that refuses to end. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, what's whispered in the shadows always finds its way back to the light.